Alright guys, we're going to try this. We're just going to do a little bit of plenum work on this Victor 340. Sorry I'm not centered as much as I would like, but it's at a serious angle on the bench, and that's the only way I can get the camera in there to even show you a little bit. Now, some of the things we need to pay attention to is there's a huge lip here. Okay? That's got to go. Some of the other things we can do, I can show you on this, but this isn't perfect. We've got a nice overhang. We've got a nice overhang. We've got a nice overhang after I had to remove literally 3/8 of an inch on this side. This side was hanging way deep. And this side is going to need a decent amount removed as well. What I like to do is if the plenum comes with an already serious overhang versus a gasket size, I would like that overhang the same all the way around. Now, for a little theory, and I've explained this before, I'm going to explain it again. What happens to, we're going to call it air with fuel, okay? And we have liquid fuel, and it's going through a venturi, and it comes out of the venturi, pressure recovery happens, and it goes from relatively small barrels. Let me grab my spacer. This is actually Rob's spacer, but it's so nice, we're going to use it. All right, we're going from a carb barrel into something that's bigger. Now, what happens is we have a high-speed flow of air and fuel, and then it goes into an area of larger volume. Well, what's going to happen at that point? We're going to get same thing that happens in an evaporator. Okay, in an evaporator you have a high temperature, high pressure liquid going into a low pressure, low temperature coil. Okay, and what the refrigerant does is it absorbs heat because of the pressure difference, and that's where we absorb the heat and move it out of the system. Well, we're going to do the same thing with an intake manifold. Okay, and when that liquid is absorbing heat, it's going to evaporate. Okay, so it's not necessarily a bad thing to go from relatively small barrels to a larger plenum. You see that all the time when top guys take a cloverleaf plenum and they notch it out to a big rectangular. I personally think that's what they're doing, and they get gains that way. So when I have something that's completely mismanufactured, you see this edge? This has already had a ton of work to it. It's still overhanging the barrel, and I noticed that when I did our first test on the cylinder head with the carb on it, that we had a huge overhang. It was at least 1/4 of an inch into where the barrel was. I said, okay, we're going to fix that anyway. But on something nice like this, that's probably CNC machined, you can really do a nice job measuring how far the plenum wall is from each side and even them up as much as possible. Okay, what I'm going to show you guys, or at least attempt to show you guys, is what we're going to wind up doing with this. Now, since the camera is where it is, I can't guarantee anything, guys. I will try to stay out of the way. And see what we can do. See what kind of damage we can cause. You know what? I changed my bit speed. Let me go back and lower that back a little bit. You know, something else that you guys probably notice. Almost in the corner, we've got 1.16 inches there. About the same place on this side, 1 inch even. This is not flat. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it goes uphill here. Okay, we're going to even all that out. Yeah, the overhang on this side is less than the overhang on this side as well. I need a lot of lube on this. These small bits that Dangerous Donnie got me really bite because they're so sharp and small. My left arm is also weak. I hurt my my trap muscle the other day. That's a good story. I don't know if I should tell you guys. One of the young guys was messing with the old guy at work. He learned. Let's try my longer bit. This is also very sharp and bounces a bit. You'll see it actually starts to cut differently as soon as we chop out the WD-40. Now, what I'm going to do is I am going to make this almost completely dead straight. All right, and then we're going to roll into our runners. Now, we do have a little extra flow on our two centers, which is not unusual, but it's very close on this manifold. So when I move the plenum over, I'm going to have to change where these start, and I can change the radius as well. A tight radius versus a wide radius changes where the harmonics are going to come in. So if you change that, be careful and see if you can figure out which way you're going. When I do it, I tend to put a larger radius on, which seems to bring my torque peak up. I don't have dyno proof of that. It's theory to me. Oh, that's tough. I'm also far away because of the camera. because this is old, beat up, and dull, it doesn't bite nearly as much. A lot easier to control. Always scary with brand new bits, especially guys that don't have speed controls. When I was young, I can't tell you how many brand new bits I broke in the first few minutes that I had them, because they would just bite and rattle around. Especially if you're doing iron, you can just break the carbide right up, and that's always hot when it hits you in the face. Okay, the two center ones are 3 and 5. The WD-40 washed that off, but I can see my numbers that I put on there. And I can go by my chart, 3 and 5. 5 was 268.7, 3 was 266. So this one flowed a little bit better. And that had the bigger overhang in front of it. Always interesting to look at that. Another thing I noticed about this manifold is the roof height of the two center ports is different on both sides. So I think they were doing some equalization work at Edelbrock, which I think is a good thing. Left hand doesn't work WD-40 well. Okay, let's just take our grease spacer and see what we look like. Okay, that's still got to come down more. The other way you can do it is, if your bolt holes are evenly spaced on the plenum, you could do something like this, right? 800 thousandths. I should say 0.8, this is 0.815, so there's still a difference. So I got to take some more out of that bottom. Looks like you guys are still recording. And I'm going to use the one that takes the least amount out. I feel like I'm porting from my neighbor's yard, the way we have the camera in the way and I'm so far back. Another thing I like to do is, the reason I have duct tape on here is these always get banged up. So you put some duct tape on there, they're not as banged up. Problem with a manifold like this is even if I use my 9-inch burr, the angle of these runners makes it so you can't get to the roof. The grinder gets in the way, and the collet tends to hit the top of the plenum, and that makes it look terrible. Okay, now I like to do a cartridge roll finish on the sharp corner, okay, because our air speeds are going to be greater there. So I like a different texture. I can't get the other side from this angle. Okay, I just wanted to do a little something to show you. Now this is a 40, so this takes off serious metal in no time. We'll take an old 120 and put it on there. Pause, you guys. Okay, this is by no means done, but you get the idea. Okay, I still have to do all the runners and so forth, but I have to finish this plenum. I need to finish making this dead straight, and then radius it into the ports, and it'll look something like that. All right, guys. 18 minutes of boredom. Hope you like it. Thanks for hanging out. Have a good night.